Welcome to the Beats from the True Wellness Center. I'm your host, Kelly Kennedy, and the Beats is truly from my heart to yours to help you empower and inspire you to learn how the body actually does work. I am bringing you my friends, my colleagues, the most incredible minds from around the world that I have been able to learn from, and I want to share them all with you. So that's what the Beats is really about, is teaching people what I've been able to learn about how the body works and trying to give that to you in a very simple and practical way to give you things to change your life, because you got this. This is all about you and having the ability to heal your own body from within. And that's really my message, is from my heart to yours. Welcome to the Beats. Welcome to learning how your body works, and welcome to opening your heart. Thank you for joining us today. Thank you for your time and your attention as we focus in on this week's episode of The Beats. So welcome back to The Beats with Kelly Kennedy. I have missed you all, and I'm so glad today. This once a month podcast is really exciting to me because we get to dive a little deeper, and with Justin Frandson, there's no other way to do it than to dive deeper. My new great friend and colleague has opened me up to worlds that I'm very satisfied with the different information he's led me to, but also with the technologies and the access that he's given us to some great things. So I'm very excited to bring to the podcast today, Justin Frandson from Athleticism. Welcome, Justin.
Thank you, Kelly. It's so fun to be here again with you.
And Justin, like myself, is a non-doctor, but a complete geek of anatomy, physiology, and athletic, not only athletic performance, but all performance of the human experience, essentially. And so, Justin, tell my community a little bit about your background, and then we can dive into what you do.
Well, they call me Dr. J on the basketball court only, but no, I'm just teasing. Again, we're not a licensed practitioner like yourself, but have had over a couple decades in the athleticism world. I'm an athleticism performance coach. Athleticism.com started in late 1990s, working with amateur and professional athletes at high levels, and had an incredible mentor that was strength coach in the NBA and NFL, and then the Scripps Orthopedics brought him in to have ortho, PT, and performance on under one roof. And so that was the guy that I learned from. And he was really an out-of-the-box thinker and more about developing coordination and ambidexterity and balance and flexibility and whole body, whole brain work that no one was really doing. And so we were one of the first gyms to have a Bosu ball in it, and one of the first guys to do kettlebell training, because Steve Cotter was in there. So the founder of the Bosu ball is David Weck. Steve Cotter was his IKFF guy, one of the first to bring kettlebells to the US. And then, myself, we're all in the gym together about 25 years ago. So it's been super fun journey working with these pros at these top levels. And so more recently rolled out curated products to help with health and performance, honing in a lot on the EMF space and the invisible stressors of EMF. I saw it coming and spotted that trend and jumped on it to really articulate the difference between man-made and how man-made EMFs and how we're made and how they affect us. And so rolled out emfrocks.com in our grounding bags, and we sell them at doctor clinics all around the country. And so it's been a fun journey to really dive into what health really is. And now with the period of time we're in, everyone is raising their level of consciousness. We were chatting before, the masses aren't really hearing it because they're wanting to say loud enough and long enough what their narrative is, but that's not really the case. Everyone is raising their level of consciousness from these conversations. And so I'm so grateful to be a part of it with you.
Well, thank you so much for that. And you're right. We love the tipping point. We love that you all share this information and that there's a whole, like the mushrooms, right, have this network
that we've just discovered, perhaps, that when one mushroom talks, it talks to all the other mushrooms. If you don't know about that, you need to know about that. But that's very much what's happening in our world. Like, we're all connecting, all the pioneers and the leaders that have been out there for 20, 30, 40 years, and some not as long, but all doing this true, pure, like, hey, there's something going on here. So going back, so you're an athleticism, you're helping people with optimal performances. How did the EMF thing come in for you, Justin?
Well, it's real simple. The easiest way to get someone better is to clear the stressors out of their world, and they'll just automatically start to heal and get better. EMF was that biostressor and is the environmental stressor that we're all dealing with right now. So when I was able to look to nature to facilitate clearing that, the athletes would get better. What I saw was the guys were wearing earbuds, wireless earbuds, smartwatches, driving Teslas, and just getting inundated with man-made EMF. And these frequencies aren't really how our universe is made. And so it was affecting their health. The strongest, fittest guys, one in particular was an endurance athlete. His whole arm went weak from wearing a wearable watch. And that was the thing. I'm like, get rid of the watch. His arms started to get better. I didn't even really have to do much other stuff with him. Just get the stressor out. So that's where we saw it, with the athletes breaking down from excess EMF.
And so we've talked about EMFs on the podcast before, but just give a quick, if somebody's new to EMF world and why that would be different than what you're saying, the human, why is it a biostressor? Why is EMF a biostressor?
There's a book called the Electric Body, Electric Health. And I love sharing this book because it really breaks down a lot of how our universe works and how we work. And it's a really simple concept that you look at a battery. How does a battery work? It has a negative charge and a positive charge, and it wouldn't work if one of those charges wasn't going, or both of them weren't going. Our body acts in that similar capacity. We get a negative ionic charge coming from the Schumann resonance, the healing pulse of the earth, which is a negative ionic charge that we pull the electrons from. We get a positive charge coming from the unpolarized light that distributes equally in every direction from the sun. And that right there, and then we breathe in all the minerals. And so our bodies are getting recharged from being out in nature, from that negative from below, the positive from above. What happens with man-made is different. It's one directional waves. The universe and how we're made is on scalar waves. Scalar waves are waveforms that is what the universe is based on. And those are the unpolarized waveforms that distribute equally in every direction. Man-made would never work unless it was strictly a one directional waveform. And that's the difference right there. You go in for a difference of unpolarized, distribute equally every direction versus a one directional waveform. So when we introduce a one directional waveform that's way faster of a wavelength than what our bodies are used to, the body will bend and break in lots of different ways.
So it kind of sounds like it's a laser beam almost, that it's so focused and so strong that it's directional and intentional, obviously, whereas the scalar is more. I love the word it was so interesting. You said, oh, you get recharged. And I know this is your world, but people are like, oh, I need to go out on the ground. Well, why do you ground? Because you get negative ions. Okay, so how do you recharge? You go ground and stand in the sun, and you get positive ions, negative ions from the ground, positive ions from the sun. And then you just quickly said, oh, and they breathe in the minerals. Like, that was no big deal. Like, that's new knowledge that we would like to delve into a little bit. And you recharge. And it's so interesting because people are like, oh, I need to recharge. And they will go to a gym to recharge under fluorescent lights and work out isotonically, or, you know, I don't know, just like repetitive motion wise, and breathe in fake air while their iPods are in, wearing their iPod watch or their Garmin watch, taking all their metrics. And they're like, oh, I'm recharged. And I'm like, holy cow. I like go outside, stand on the ground, stand up and breathe in air. That's how I recharge. So what do you mean you can breathe in minerals?
Well, Zach Bush will talk about that. I mean, that's the whole microbiome. We're getting it from these different ecosystems, and that's why it's so important to get out and go into different environments to get those minerals from the air. And remember, our air, our environment is so nutrient dense in nutrients and minerals. And so when we could get in those amazing ecosystems, that's where we're going to be able to feed the mineral content, our oxygen content, and help these body batteries be more conductive in the proper way. Not with graphene oxide or thimerosal, which is mercury, or aluminum, or formaldehyde, or all these other toxic substances.
Yeah. And so you're a body battery.
Exactly.
And you have to recharge, and we run on minerals. Okay. So, and EMFs will block that. And that's what you saw, the breakdown. And so then you went into nature and you said, okay, how is nature solving this problem? And then you didn't try to copy nature. You just stayed with nature. Can you explain that?
Yeah. So there's a lot of products out there that are attempting to copy it or make a resonance that converts those one directional waveforms for it. And I just feel it's a futile effort, and no one does it better than Mother Nature herself. So we look to nature and we hand mine crystals. These crystals have Tesla properties of magnetic resonance in the stones, along with a moisture content, because they were compressed from underground water source. So the combination between the two of those kicks off one of the most incredible frequencies for repelling EMF and converting those one directional waveforms. And we deploy it in the grounding bags. I'm sure we'll dive deep into those. But literally, you'll sleep better, because if your bed's touching the wall, it's charged to the level of the outlet in your home. You're literally getting low-level radiation in your home. Plus, if you have a smart meter on your home, that's a two-way gas and electric meter. It's going into your home and out of your home and telling them what you're using every 7 to 15 seconds. Plus, you'll have Alexas and Ring doorbells maybe, and you have your wireless technology, your computers and your cell phones and your Nest AC units, and all these different devices that are always looking to talk to you. That's why they're so-called smart, is they're always pinging a resonance that says, talk to me, Kelly, talk to me, Kelly, talk to me. If I were doing that to anybody at 1, 2, 3 in the morning, they would just say, get out of here. But that's what our bodies are inundated, whether it's a lower level or a slower speed of a wavelength from electricity to a faster speed wavelength of wireless signals. That's essentially the sounds and the resonance, the vibrational resonance, which is a language of our body that our bodies are hearing all the time. So we have to convert that so it quiets that noise down so we can get into these deep sleeps. And that's what the grounding bags do when you're in your home or on the go. That's what nature does for you when you get outside.
What do you mean our cells can hear sounds?
Oh man!
I love that you just drop these bombs and I just let you unfold, because it's wonderful. Like your language is so beautiful, and it's obviously your, like, what you speak every day. But for even me, like when I first had that first conversation with you, do you remember how many notes I took? I was like, because I've learned all this, but you have it so well packaged because you speak it every day. And you make it so simple. You have such a talent for that, to make this very complex. I mean, honest to God, Justin, after our conversation, after a couple of the books you sent me, we had a sauna problem at our office for like the last 2 to 3 months. We've had a sauna problem that something popped one day. We couldn't figure it out. And we've called the sauna company and everything else. And my front desk the other day, she was like, well, somebody now has to fix this. And I go, wait till I get back. I want to do it. I actually want to play with electricity now. I've always been afraid of electricity, but I kind of start to understand it because even though I knew this body was electric, I was resistant to understanding electronics the way that I understand them right this very moment. And when I can bring these two worlds together, I think this lends people to understand why we're talking about frequency and why frequency matters.
Yeah, well, it does, because our water and our minerals are inside and outside our cells. And so that's where you start to get into how our body's comprised. And the principle of thermodynamics creates this electromagnetic field in our body. And so that's where this heat transforms, there's heat to different forms of energy. And so that's how our body really starts to generate energy. And this piezoelectric effect is the electrical current through stress and pressure of the body, where two objects basically they move around each other. And so this is how the body starts to move with that vibrational resonance, is through those two definitions and concepts. And really simple, but that's a language of your body, is through this vibrational resonance. And when we understand that, we understand that these bandwidths, and there's videos out right now that talk about certain bandwidths can be directly targeted to your DNA to change the language of your cells, to trigger a different thought process in your brain. And so this is basically warfare in a lot of ways on EMF and these different bandwidths. So we want to get to back to the understanding of how does the universe work, how do we work, and I don't want to dive deeper into that as well, because I think that is like the essence of everything. Not to fear, what's attempts are being made, but literally to raise our consciousness so we are aware of it, and then just understand how it works. And once we understand that, then we just go and get grounded by nature, and whoever wants to do whatever they need to do, go ahead and do it. But it's not going to affect us and our families when we follow and stay close to nature.
And so the cells hearing, as you're saying, is vibrational resonance or not vibrational resonance, because
Right.
Everything is a vibration. It either resonates or it doesn't, but the cells are responding to that because it's a signal being sent. Right. And I think that's what people, the cells are antennas essentially, and the fascia is an antenna. And like you said, if at 3 a.m. we had that many people in our bedroom talking to us, we'd be like, everybody get out, because I'm trying to sleep. And we don't think about that because they're at levels of frequency that we can't, what's the word? Like perceive. That's the word, perceive. So what's the range that the scalar waves range versus like a cell phone, to give us some idea?
Well, yeah, most people can't hear these bandwidths, and animals can, plants can, our cells hear that and feel that vibrational resonance. And before I go into the speed of everything, Dr. Martin Pall out of Washington State University developed or studied that the voltage gated calcium channels open up when you introduce, and then they introduce positive calcium into a negative cell with low level radiation. So this EMF opens up our cells. And so we know that this vibrational resonance is not enhancing it. It's tremendous cell and DNA damage, no matter if it's low level or a higher speed wavelength. When we look at the 3 different types of EMFs, you have electricity, which is measured in milligauss, which is about 50 to 60 waves per second, or 50 to 60 hertz. So you can go get a milligauss meter, and that'll meter that speed of the wavelength of that stressor. And that's more of a low level stressor. When we introduce electricity into our homes, cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's, cardiovascular, all increased. And diabetes kind of has taken the cake literally because it's fake food, but all that really went up when we introduced electricity, and our bodies are super resilient. So more would have less toxicity in our body and able to fend off of it. Now we're starting to see levels of increased toxicity. And so a lot more people are being affected by even that lower speed wavelength. Then you get into the dirty electricity, where the Stetzer electric meter. So STETZER electric.com. Dave Stetzer made this meter. He calls it the Stetzer electric meter. It meters amps to volts, or GS units, Graham Stetzer units, they call it. Amps to volts is about 4,000 to 100,000 waves per second. So that would be a dim switch on a light, attempting to keep the level of lighting you're requesting. That would be the static in the line from having these beautiful new LED lights with transformers in them. Really challenging. Those transformers kick off a static. That would be a transformer in your backyard having signals going in and out of that, or a junction not meeting. That would cause static that would resonate through all the pipes in your home and some surrounding homes. Same with solar on a home. Attempting to store electricity in a panel, direct it to a battery, and then into your home at the level you're requesting for usage, causes static electricity. Every home with solar that I've tested, Kelly, has the highest levels of dirty electricity from a Stetzer electric meter out of all the homes that you'll find. Then
made me really happy we never got solar panels at our house. Wow.
Yeah. So then we go into the wireless speed wavelength. The wireless are measured into millions to billions of waves per second. So that's where it gets really interesting, is the speed of this wavelength. That's how we're able to communicate. You're across the country, I'm in Newport Beach, California, and we're having this awesome conversation, but it's all through waveforms. And so these waves are going billions of waves per second. There's not a meter to meter the speed of the connectivity that we're having right now. That's scary to me, because my one directional acoustometer only meters up to like 2 billion waves per second. So that means our communication lines are way faster than that, because it meters out just on a cell phone, on a router, on anything. I mean, I have my computer hardwired, so not so bad. My phone's in a Faraday bag, so I don't have any wireless signals directly on me right now. I have buffered that proximity, and that's what we want to educate you guys to do today. So we're getting back to this waveforms. Remember, low and slow, 50 to 60, low level radiation. These cell phones, communication, 2.45 billion waves per second. And now the 5G, 60 to 90 billion waves per second. Now, when we sleep, Kelly, and our brainwave state is low and slow, we're 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second when we're sleeping.
Versus so, 80 million.
Billion.
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 Yeah, this is 10 zeros with a 1.
It's hard to comprehend, honestly, it is. It's like we're at 1 to 8 and they're at 60 billion.
Kelly, you got 10 zeros to anyone's bank account. Is that a big difference?
I mean, ridiculously significant.
That's what our body feels when you had a one directional at that speed. That's a polar opposite charge than how it's designed to really rev, sleep, and optimize. It's polarizing for our bodies. So that's what we're dealing with. I saw these athletes, they're in the alpha state, 8 to 12 hertz or waves per second is their brainwave state. That's why we do juggling, all this ambidexterity, to get them to the infinite flow of the universe. The universe, the Schumann resonance, 7.83 hertz or waves per second. That's same as a theta brainwave state, which is 4 to 8 hertz or waves per second. Delta is 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. So when we're sleeping and restoring and creating and then performing, we're so close to that Schumann resonance in that slower wave per second. And then you introduce these one directional waveforms that are 10 zeros faster than us. It's super, super challenging for the body. And the body doesn't heal very effectively with these stressors when it decharges them.
Because you said it opens up the calcium channels in the body, right? And calcium makes rigidity and is more of a stress element, whereas magnesium, its counterpart, is the parasympathetic side of calcium being the sympathetic side. And if you don't understand that, you haven't listened to enough of my podcast. But that is the truth, and understanding that they have. And how did we find out that it opens up calcium channels? That was Martin Paul's work.
Yes, Dr. Martin Paul's work. So if that's happening, you go into a sympathetic nervous system mode. It puts your body into a fight, flight, or freeze mode. That's not growth mode. That's fear mode, which is exactly what a mask does. You know, one of those shots will do for you. It weakens your system. It doesn't allow you to stay connected to this analog world. It puts you in a digital space. Oh, let me look and read how many steps I took today. No, you don't need to know that. Your body, know how you feel. Listen to your body. Get away from this technology and go back to how it feels. How do you feel? And get connected. It feels really good to feel good. And it feels good to have that awareness, to know how you feel and listen and heighten your senses and get your survival instincts really heightened. And that's what getting grounded by nature does for you.
And I just have to shout out to the fascia and the lymph real quick about this whole frequency. If you could talk about the fascia, and I don't talk about the fascia, that'd be great. But I just, you know, we're talking about the cells, and one of the things I don't talk a lot about is cells on my show, but you know, the cells are signaling, right? Being signaled rather, but they're being signaled from the lymph, and the lymph is being signaled from the fascia, and the fascia is being signaled from what? And now we can talk about the great big universe. Go ahead, Justin.
Yeah, so the fascia teeing me up every time. I love it. Man, we're gonna play 36 holes today because I love being teed up. But the fascia is a band or sheet of connective tissue, and which is essentially a lot of the collagen in our body. Attaches, stabilizes, separates, and closes, you know, these muscles and organs. And that's what's so great about it. Now, our body really listens to those cells, and that's how we communicate, is through this. And different spectrums of light our bodies will respond differently to it. And so that's why red light works well with some, blue light works well with your skin. So you have different levels of light that are just known to heal different spectrums of the body. So there's this book called The Actual Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. And I want everyone to know about this book, and if you haven't seen it already. And this one is the one I think Kelly was sharing that she was reading and just absolutely blew her mind.
I have shared this with every single one of my colleagues that I've talked to in the last 2 weeks. This is a life-altering book for me. I mean, I have it on Audible, and I've had to listen to the first 3 chapters like 3 times. And I keep listening to the next chapters, but I go back, and I've already ordered it physically as well, because I know I have to mark this book up. This is more like a textbook, it seemingly is turning into for me.
It is. And I'm flipping through it, but this is the book bibliography. It's about 150 pages, you know, or so of the book. I mean, it's a thick book, but the first 100 pages, 120 pages, talk about our universe and how it was really made through scalar waves, and that understanding that we live in this electromagnetic blanket of an atmosphere. And that atmosphere, this air between us, is really ether and plasma. And these waveforms travel through that plasma. So that's how we're able to communicate, is through air. Our air is our environment. And Tom Cowan said it best, and his video went viral. when he talked about the dolphins in the ocean.
Mhm.
And if you pollute the ocean water, the dolphins will get sick and adapt to that and new environment. But their adaptation process is getting sick to polluting their environment. So it's a secondary effect, basically. It's their cells are excreting the waste and to basically flush their body. So they produce these symptoms of dis-ease to adapt. It's their system's way of upgrading. And that's what we're seeing right now. So in his book, in the first 120 pages, he categorizes the history of pandemics and directly correlates them to increased shifts in our electromagnetic blanket of an atmosphere. Now, before 1918, the Spanish flu, when we rolled out radio waves for the first time ever, when everyone got sick from that, before that time was all cosmic shifts, Kelly. So anytime you have a cosmic shift, Dr. Darren Weissman, and we talked about him, Infinite Love and Gratitude, he has the lifeline technique system in his flow chart. I absolutely love it. In the bottom right corner, and I've been using his system for a couple of decades now since he started it, there's a spirit, and you clear it through infinite love and gratitude, but it's spirit will or will spirit. When the spirit gets kicked off, you go into particles or waves or particles in that order. Again, all these particles, kind of like minerals, are in the air, and then waves, well, the sound waves, these vibrational resonance, travel through the air as well. That can throw off your pineal gland and then your REM patterns. And that will disrupt your sleep. That can be a holding pattern in the body. And again, our bodies will have to adjust, produce a virus, which is a dead protein, doesn't eat, doesn't sleep, it doesn't reproduce, it doesn't derive energy from anything. By definition, it's self-limiting because our bodies produce it ourselves to adapt. That's what a virus is by current virology definition. It's a dead protein that we produce. So our bodies will produce that. So any shift, whether it's cosmic, our bodies will produce it. It'll throw off our REM patterns. I mean, we see it in these flow charts of these brilliant doctors that have come up with these systems. And now we're seeing it documented in books with extensive research on timing of when we rolled out certain levels of man-made stressors. 1918, radio waves. World War II, satellites in the World War II was actually radar, and the Hong Kong flu was satellites in the Van Allen belt. And guess what? In 2020, what did we roll out?
5G.
5G in Wuhan. I mean, in a place that they were using toxic substances that had been tampered with. That frequency was then broadcasted throughout the world. So there is a bioenergetic resonance for contagions. That's what they are. So this doesn't do anything. Getting these can't compete with, basically there's, what is it? How many zeros?
10.
10 to 31. 10 to 31 zeros. That's
Wavelength.
one with 31 zeros behind it. I don't know the name for that number. That's how many viruses are innocent around us at all times, according to Zach Bush. So that's how many opportunities, essentially it's infinite. I'm sure there's even more. Those are the ones that we can see, or scientists really know of at this point. But that's how much opportunity we have to adapt. Fungus, bacteria, viruses, they are our adaptive systems. You look to the universe, we're made with this plasma and ether all around us, and that's how these waveforms travel. When we change our environment of air with one directional waveforms, our bodies produce a virus and adapt to it. That's why everyone has been getting sick the last couple of years. That's why last month in June, people were getting sick in Newport Beach, Laguna Beach area where I live, which is one of the healthiest places outdoor. Everyone's exercising, eating right, not much smoking at all anywhere. You don't see that here. healthiest probably place around in the world, and people are getting sick because they're rolling out new phased array satellites beaming one directional waveforms on us. People's body will adapt when they need to at the level they're capable. So flush, detox, clear that lymph, let this fascia heal and have these pathways open so it can, and our bodies will adapt naturally to this stuff. And then do your best to get grounded to convert these waveforms when we're inundating ourselves with it. These are self-inundation. Most of the toxicity right now is all us on our own. So we have to develop some proximity protocols for it. So that's kind of all of it in a nutshell for you.
That was a beautiful summary, really. I mean, wow, he summed up that book very well. But I would like to say too, further, that not only is it on us that we're hurting ourselves, but it's on us to heal ourselves, and that it's not outside of us that we find this healing, it's inside of us, and it's knowledge, awareness, consciousness, and proper actual steps. Now that you have that knowledge and awareness to shift. I don't have a Faraday cage, but I have a blocker on my phone. I'm wearing technology that's nanotechnology, different man-made technology, but something that I've used for 5 or 7 years because I'm in front of these computers. I have blue blockers on. It's because I'm in front of this computer. So I'm not at my typical home. I don't have my other things that I use, but I've had mild success. I won't say mild. I've had some success with man-made equipment, but when I met you, I was fascinated by the fact you went into nature to figure out how nature, because everybody said to me for years, oh, I want to mitigate EMF. So I'm going to back out a second. So going back to your universal model and understanding that particles become waves, it goes through the plasma is the air is what's signaling, and our fascia pulls in those signals. And if the fascia is in alignment, if there's any resistances in the fascia, scars in the fascia, or adhesions, that can limit the proper communication to the ether of which we're in, our environment. And then the lymph is further filtering that information. If the lymph doesn't move, it won't go well. And so then the cell will be signaled. And there's a lot there that has to be done, to get your body to make that go smoothly. So you might hear, y'all, I'm a little nasally. I've had a head cold for 2 or 3 days. Why? I've been on vacation for 3 weeks. I don't think I've ever taken this much time off in the practice ever in 18 years. I have really worked to spend more time with my family. I have worked, and I talked to my friend Byron the other day, Byron Braid, Dr. Braid, who taught us a lot of this medicine, who's a psychiatrist. And he goes, oh, you sound so sick. And I was like, yeah, I have a bit of a head cold. He goes, well, yeah, you're on vacation. You can finally relax. I was like, yeah, but it took me 3 weeks to get sick because it took me that long to relax. But I also know there's a big shift happening in my life with Ian, with the business, with all the things that are going on. And I knew this was a healing. I knew this, I was letting go of stuff that no longer supported me. And so I let it go. Ian was sick right before me. Did I catch it from him? No, because that's not how things work. My body was susceptible because I was transitioning and I hadn't moved my lymph enough and hadn't processed enough. So I was still going through that when I got exposed, and then I couldn't compensate for it, essentially. So my body was like, okay, there you go. But through that healing of the last couple of days is exactly what it was. I have a new awareness. I have a new pep in my step. I'm more excited than ever because I know that I let go of something that no longer serves me through that. I don't need to identify what that was. I don't care. I'm a better person today than I was 3 days ago, though, because of that. But that's because my system, I've worked so hard. I haven't worked hard. I've just worked a long time, and I've diligent and persistent in cleaning up my lifestyle. So there's not a lot taxing me out on a daily basis.
So Kelly, did you fly anywhere?
The week before I did.
Okay, so this is my theory right now, and I'm seeing a lot of it. And I saw it myself the last 2 times over the last 2 years that I got sick. I flew, and
my husband flew. I flew. We flew on the same day on Monday. He was sick on Thursday. I was sick Saturday.
So what I'm seeing is when you're inside of an encapsulated area, all metal, and you have hundreds of people. I don't know how many people are on a flight. I mean, there's a lot. Each person, let's say they have a cell phone, 2.45 billion waves per second. So times, 100 and whatever on a flight. And then you add the 5G bandwidth that they're rolling out as a router on the flight. We've never seen that electrification in a condensed area for several hours at a time, ever, until we get on a plane. And I have a client that I cleared their home in Newport Beach. It was really high levels. One of their 4 kids, their youngest actually it wasn't their youngest. It was the second, the oldest, got childhood diabetes. And having been in this environment for about 10, 11 years of high level magnetic resonance in their home, along with the dirty electricity. So we've never seen levels that high in a home, and everyone was having health challenges. These are the healthiest. One of them was the parents were a professional athlete prior to. So this is a really healthy family. Typically, how does the son get childhood diabetes? Well, they had a transformer in their backyard, and their home wasn't wired properly going in and out of that. And there's a lot of different challenges in it. But net, I said, hey, let's have you go on vacation. Let's figure out your home, come back, and we'll fix your home. They got on a flight to Fiji from Newport Beach to Fiji. The mom is wearing the smartwatch to monitor her son or new son that has diabetes, that they're worried about having a seizure or dying, which is very real. And what happened is on that flight, this is the first week that the mom had this watch on, and she's been monitoring it and checking it, seeing levels. She saw the blood sugar go up 200 points and her son get a bloody nose the second everyone was able to use Wi-Fi on the airplane. Then it's a long flight to Fiji.
The nosebleed again. It's the darn nosebleeds. That book has got me not freaked, but like, wow, about the nosebleeds and what's happening with people with the vaccine. Okay, yeah. Go ahead.
So then 3/4 of the flight, people end up falling asleep. Levels went back down. She's watching it. People are sleeping. Signals normalized, levels normalized on them. Bloody nose went away. 3/4 of the flight, about half the people wake up and start using their devices. Her son's still sleeping. He gets a bloody nose in his sleep, and the meter's up 100 points. So we know that these airplanes are super toxic with EMFs. Smoking, forget smoking. I mean, that is, we can flush that heavy metal out of us. This stuff literally changes your DNA. When people are flying, we're getting inundated at levels that we've never seen. I normally fly with a grounding bag, and I only had my mini in me because I was taking short trips. And so I didn't end up loading up on these. I'm doing lots of flying between now and the end of this year, and I will not get sick. I'm going to have these loaded up to convert that waveforms. I will sit and put it as a backrest, put it on my sacrum to recharge my body. Literally, I really feel people need to understand to get grounded and stay grounded in these flights, because our bodies end up adapting to that toxicity during that flight.
Well, Ian said that he thought it was 100% from the flight, but talking about cosmic events, the night before that was that super full moon. And the moon really affects me. And I'm at the shore, and I'm at a shore where we get 2 tides a day here. And it has been thunderstorms and lightning pretty much for 3 weeks since we got here. So I've had a lot of ions. We've gone out and got a lot of ions and a lot of grounding and but I'm just thinking about everything we talked about and all the cosmic events that were happening. In addition to I flew, he flew. And then I'm getting ready to go back emerge back into my world of working again, and a full-time experience, and not just a couple hours every day, and all that was the evolution. But first of all,
yeah, that's the beauty of it. That's what I'm saying. That's what we're alluding to, everyone, is whether it's a cosmic shift, and you're timing that, I don't know when you flew, but that is brilliant because your body is just adapting when this cosmic shifts occur. And then when we fly, that's another level of stressor for our body. It's just going to adapt. There's nothing we can do to hide. Your just body will adapt when it needs to. And so that's the beauty of it. And listening to our bodies is so, so huge. And I think when you go back to BJ Palmer, he really talks about this innate intelligence of our atmosphere. BJ Palmer started chiropractic medicine, and Oshman, Dr. James Oshman, has basically energy medicine, and he talks about that energetic resonance. Tom Cowan talks about bioenergetics, of how these, you said mushrooms, how trees, mushrooms, every organism creates, and there's this innate intelligence. And we talked about the smile being the most contagious thing ever. That's what we're alluding to. But I call it this living collective tissue matrix. The same, or actually, that's what Dr. Stephen Schwartz calls it from Primal Resonance. I like to call it the living collective intelligence matrix. Is what we're all wrapped in. This blanket of intelligence, this matrix of intelligence. And that is how this universe communicates. That is the flow of it, this infinite flow through these scalar waves, that we're just connected. And that is so beautiful. And for me, being a performance coach working with athletes, we can get people in that flow through running, skipping, bounding, shuffling, proper rhythms, through ambidexterity work, through sound and light treatments, through Dr. Stevens of Vibe, which is basically a full body bioresonance harmonics for, it's like a sound bed, for lack of a better word, that you get into these resonances. There's so many ways that you can tap into the resonance of Earth. Go out without technology and go sit and listen to the ocean, listen to the river, listen to the wind, the birds, the bees, like literally start to feel and listen to these sounds. That's the recordings that he's put into those. Go listen to kids at a playground playing, and the scream and those just innate medicinal sounds of life. Like that is what is healing for our body.
And that's why when Rasmus created Sound of Soul, he took the sounds of nature and instruments to convert your heart rate variability into that, to get you exposure to your frequency with a natural sound that you can resonate with, but it's your frequency creating that and converting that. And it's the beauty of that machine, of that technology rather, because it allows you to ground yourself back to nature with your own frequency. But in looking at the mitigation, I was starting to say that earlier and I got sidetracked with what I said, but in this world, when I became aware of frequencies and 5Gs, I don't remember how long ago it was, well over a decade. And at the beginning, people were like, you have to mitigate it. You have to like block it. And I'm like, that just seems like frequency, you can't escape. Like you start a ripple in the water and you can't see where it ends because it never ends. Like, I don't remember much about physics, but I kind of remember nothing ever ends, right? So that always kind of was like, you can't block 5G. And that's why some of the tents, and I don't want to live in a tent, and those kinds of things were just, and I was also kind of like, I used to wear this particular necklace back in the day, and I was like, but when I didn't wear it, I definitely noticed like I was almost more susceptible then. It was like I put my defenses down because my body didn't have its own natural defenses of some sort. And then we got from mitigation to harmonization, right? These man-made pieces of equipment that harmonize 5G, next to be 10G, I'm sure, around the corner. So I'm not saying that they're not effective, because I know some of our client base has purchased those, and I don't want you to feel like you've wasted your money. What I have found out from Justin, though, is that potentially there's even a Mother Nature did it best, as we know. So rather than copying nature, he went into nature. So let's talk about that. Where in the world did you come from? But anyway, how did you find these? I'm
Well, the
just
fields
so thankful to
extend.
Dr. Cohen. Howie Cohen, thank you. All my worlds lead back to you. Thank you, Howie. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, it's Dr. Howard Cohn, Cohn
We
Health
love you, Dr.
Institute.
Cohen.
Yeah, he's incredible. But and that's what's so beautiful is all these fields extend beyond the tissue, and you know that's where this bioresonance comes in, and then that whole connection with the earth. So there's actually a doctor using these crystals in his practice, and he comes to me because I had a name in the space for helping with athletes with EMF and going and metering homes and such. And so it's like, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, oh, I'm using these. Well, he turned out to be retiring and not wanting to use it. So we got access to the mine, and I packaged it up differently, but it was a doctor really successfully using this in his clinic as treatment protocols where I found it.
But there's a mine. You're mining these.
Yeah, we hand mine crystals, literally the crystal, we hand mine them that have this resonance. So they're broadcasting these incredible frequencies, and you know that the cellular metabolism just thrives on, which is love and gratitude and blessings and light. And that's the resonance, the Schumann resonance of the earth. So we found an actual crystal, and we deploy it in the Faraday bag and in this grounding bag because it amplifies that. And so that's the beauty of finding the right crystals. The crystals are the purest that we've ever found. No one's seen them before because when they would mine them, they would just turn to dust if they're left unsealed. So we keep them in solid form, and they last anywhere from 2 to 10 years when they're sealed. And when they turn to dust, sprinkle the minerals in your garden. And these colloid crystals that have been compressed from this underground water source, the combination with that moisture with the magnetic resonance, exponentially better than shungite, amethyst, black tourmaline, all the other known crystals that have resonances for repelling EMF.
And what's the name of the crystal?
They're colloid crystals.
Just colloid.
Yeah, colloid crystals.
Wow. You know, it's funny. This scientist over here laughs at herself all the time because she used to like just, you know, oh, that's a pretty necklace and it was a crystal, and I'll buy it, but I didn't know anything about it. And then a couple years later, or a couple of years ago, rather, actually, when we bought this house, we founded this crystal shop, and I started to feel like crystals were talking to me. This whole story. And I was like, wow, this is crazy. And then I became the woman that traveled around the world with bags of crystals. And every time I was on a plane, I would be stopped because they'd be like, what is in your bag? Can you take all the stuff out of your bag? Because I just have crystals everywhere. And I'm laughing because you're like, oh, I travel around with these bags of crystals on my plane. And I'm like, well, that's going to be my new bag of crystals now that I'm traveling on the plane with, is just crystals. That's the key. I've been saying to everybody, go get your crystals. I got them in my bra right now. I'm wearing one here because they resonate.
Yeah. And when you go through TSA, you have to take the inner bag out of the silver bag, and they'll see the crystals really well, and then they won't hassle you, and then you put it back in the silver bag. But these crystals, they'll look at it and they have a magnetic resonance in it. There'll be like, it shows up. It's like, okay, it's like going through a selenium. It'll look like a big iron, like literally like a weapon. If you have,
that's why I always get stopped, because when I buy crystals and they protect them and wrap them because I'm buying them, and I'm like, it's great, you're going to wrap it, but I'm going to get the airport and they're going to unwrap it because they're going to go, what are you holding? Is that some kind of weapon? Because it's so strongly yeah.
So these X-ray machines can see it. And so what we did is we looked to nature to bring this resonance to us. And there's this harmonic flow of the universe. And this is where it gets so incredible. And it's a Fibonacci sequence where it structures the water. So there's an actual structure, you know, in how these are formed. And that's where this graphene oxide, you know, in the nanotechnology, it's structured really similar to structured water, which is that Fibonacci sequence with our phi ratio of how the whole universe in proximity to everything is structured, and this flow of nature and the universe. And So anyhow, we looked to that underlying, resonance, and that's what these crystals have, that form of structured water in it to have that capacity to conduct, convert, transform, transmute, whatever, if it's biogeometry, ley line challenges, or magnetic resonance stuff. These frequencies of the crystals of the grounding bags help convert that one directional waveform to something our bodies really accept.
A bag of rocks.
Yeah, a bag of rocks. I know, it's like the pet rock, but with intelligence. What's that?
It's the Flintstones meets the Jetsons.
Yeah, and then some of my friend calls me the pet rock king. I'm like, wait, that didn't have intelligence. These do. It's not the same thing. So they really do. They kick off resonance. They're beautiful pink crystals, as you see, and
They are.
Unfortunately, we can't wear them or display them like in a conventional form, but we do have minis for your pocket, purse, or backpack. So this is a mini grounding bag, and we put this in a pocket, purse, or backpack for the kids, pocket for the guys, purse for the women. The full size, about 1 pound of crystals, is 2 to 3 ounces. These work so well for on-the-go protection. These work to get you a deeper night's sleep. That is the biggest thing, Kelly, is when we can sleep, get into these dream states, we can start to repel and start to heal. Everything restores, all your hormones restore, your water structured, it doesn't dehydrate you. You can absolutely start to heal. The other big thing I want to chat about is when our bodies are toxic from EMF exposure. And I don't know when that happens. Bruce Lipton talks about our energy field. Remember I said these energies extend beyond the tissues in our fascia, about 6 feet out around for most people through your breath work. That's your chi, that's your aura, that's your life force that people talk about. In those, Eileen McCusick will talk about holding patterns in different generational levels. So she can hear it in a tuning fork. Any stuck EMF in your biofield, we can clear it with a grounding bag. Just as Eileen McCusick can clear it with a tuning fork. All you have to do is tap on the bag. That'll 10x your energy, 10x, depending on where you're at, up to 10x you. We can also recharge our eyes, our teeth, our thymus, which is our upper chest, lower neck area. And you can't see I'm seated, but our small intestine area. Those are the 4 areas that get decharged by EMF. When we recharge this, you can tap on it, put it on your lap. I'm holding it up so you can see it. Cover your eyes and tap and breathe and ground. It'll recharge your eyes. Same with the teeth. Teeth will get small fractures and crack in it, so it's really important. Teeth are a gateway for health. Your thymus, it's your electrical system for your body. If your energy is not flowing, if this piezoelectric effect and that we talked about before isn't going, your body is shut down. That's from your thymus right here. That's your electrical system of your body. So tap on the bag and recharge your thymus and small intestine. That's where your digestion occurs. So people that should be taking
and the thymus and the small intestines are both lymph organs.
There you go. Okay, so small intestine, huge area for digestion, your gut health, like all that. So we want to keep that flowing and eliminating. And so these are the 4 areas. So you can recharge your body.
It's so interesting, for me, the rocks, y'all, because we've talked about how strong and powerful the earth is and how much it gives us. And this is just another gift the earth is giving us that is incredible, that this has been found by this doctor mind. And what you're saying, it's only in solid form for like 2 to 5 years if it's sealed, because it's not fragile, but it's fragile at some level, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, I would go on record and saying these minerals and like moringa are probably the two most super minerals that you could find, and that's more for protein, the moringa leaf, and then this is more for minerals for your body. And we'll be rolling on athleticism. We'll be rolling out some of these other minerals that you can ingest in the future, and then toothpaste from them as well. So we'll get into that when I get there. But really exciting. These minerals are just, they're the most super intelligent resonance that we can ever introduce into our homes. The only time someone wouldn't do well with them is because their own level of toxicity is so high that when good meets it, their bodies are gonna respond wonky. Once we flush that resonance out of their biofield, they're going to start to really resonate it. And if there's stuck stuff internally, take bentonite clay, apple cider vinegar, and protease, a proteolytic enzyme, which is basically a digestive enzyme. Premier Research makes a good one. If you take those three, you'll start to flush some stuck internal stuff. And then you really integrate with it. But other than that, you can't get enough good from Mother Nature. You can't get enough of that nutrients from Mother Nature. And there's no telling how healthy you can get once you're grounded by nature.
I would like to test that out with you. How healthy can we get, Justin? That's the question. How healthy can we get? So how long, so the bags last 2 to 5 years. How do you know if they're still effective or not effective?
Because if they dry out, they turn to dust, then you need to buy one. And if you're not getting enough out of them, you add another bag. That means the signals were overrun and it's time to add another bag to your level. And so this is where it's really, really powerful. We start to understand and listen to physics and listen to your body, what your body's asking, and intuitively say, hey, it's time to put these grounding bags outside after a couple months, recharge them like an air filter. You got to clean it out. And then, so put it on the ground just as is, it'll recharge it, put it back in your home. Okay, it feels like a new bag. Or feel the solid crystals. Maybe they turn to dust because you've been using them too much. They got in heat. Maybe you ran the small one through the washer, left in your pants. Then you got to get a new one. Like you have to listen to stuff. But when you use them, just place it by your bed. It should last for years. If you need more. So my wife, this is huge. This is probably one of the biggest points I could share. My wife had early menopause stuff in her late 40s. And this is a few years ago before we rolled these out to everyone. Night sweats, menstrual cycles stopped for 3 months and would wake up just every night. Couldn't sleep through the night, wake up sweating profusely, no cycle. 3 months of that. And I brought in our grounding bags into our home, put them in, on her bed, underneath her bed, and everything normalized for her. Her menstrual cycle returned, the night sweat stopped, and she was able to start to sleep through the night. It's unbelievable how fast this EMF stuff in our homes ages us. And we saw it really well. I saw it with my wife in our own home during that transitional period or just before. It accelerated her there. And then her body wasn't really there yet, but the stuff took her there. When we cleared it, it brought her back down to where her proper age was.
Took something away from her load, right? It lessened her burden. And so you need to have one of these. If I have 8 bedrooms of people sleeping in bedrooms in my house, I have to have one in every bedroom.
One in every bed, on every bed, or underneath it, touching the bed. I recommend you can use that one or buy another one for your desk and car seat. And then to clear a 2,000 square foot area, we want 5 together, Kelly. So 5 together will kick off a resonance to clear a 2,000 square foot area. When someone has solar, they need 7 together because there's more dirty electricity to clear. And when someone's driving an electric car, sitting on a massive battery. That is never, ever, ever been in any health book to say sitting on a battery, a massive one, is good for your health. If that buzzing in that car were the same loud level that was in your home, you would go, what is wrong with my home? It's not healthy. Why are people buying electric cars? We cannot take our world into electricity because it's not beneficial to sit in that close of proximity. If someone's addicted to their Tesla and they won't get rid of it, you need to 7 grounding bags behind the driver's seat to clear that vibration and help, basically transmute the one directional vibrational waveform.
Wow. This is awesome. I want to share your website again. So if you have not, whoa, what, this is not the website I was on. Hold on. If you are not watching this, please go watch us because, oh, there it is. Okay. I want you to be able to see his website and these beautiful rocks. Look at these beautiful rocks, but he has so much more on his website beyond just the grounding bags. And he sells Faraday bags as well to put the rocks in, as well as for your cell phone, I saw.
Yeah, definitely.
But I want to talk about this picture on your front page. Where's your homepage? How do I get your homepage? Just hit that. This. What is jump band and this beautiful daughter of yours? I learned this was your daughter. Okay, so I'm working on my hips right now. This is super impressive to me.
So she's jumping, we're on a trampoline, and so we have a new jump band. It's a plyometric product. You actually use it more like this, where you can have 2 people and then one jumping. It creates 2 parallel lines, and then you raise up the legs. You raise it up the legs to see how, as someone increases their jumping capacity. But it's so fun. And you just can do different sequences in it. Step on the belt, go outside of it. You can cross them. You can go over both of them and do one leg. But it's an incredible plyometric program that you could do with a group of kids. And so she's on a trampoline doing it. But it's so fun to get an action shot and see how dynamic our bodies are meant to move. And when this fascia tightens up and becomes a glue factory as we get older, our bodies are just restricted. And I use the example of a tree. When a tree gets old, you can snap the branches. That tree's dead. It's going to die. That's the same with us. We want to keep that pliability, keep that hydration in that, keep that movement in there and that circulation going. And this is how we do it, is by continuing to move and get grounded and breathe and stretch and sweat.
Wow.
That's what health is.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, I agree. When I saw that picture, not knowing it was your daughter, I was like, she looks so incredibly healthy. I'm going to show it again. She looks healthy.
Yeah, she jumped.
And like her arms, she looks muscular and tone, and she looks glowing. Her skin is glowing. And it just looks very flexible in her hips, like the way she's jumping and holding her legs up. It just looks super flexible.
So I'm 6'2", and I've held it up to my chin, and she could hit it over a trampoline with that. That was when she was, I think she was like 12 at that age.
That's amazing.
Or maybe even 11. So super fun. But yeah, we that's a really fun one to do. I think a few of the other products, the MCT oil is one of my favorites, and probably the bigger seller one. The MCT oil is huge. It's called lean oil. That's Soil Force for your gardening. I'll go through on where you're at. So we have the water structuring device and the corner of the screen. That's a hose bib. It'll structure water, Fibonacci sequence. Those are for water dispensers. You can structure it as it goes out. So
that's great.
With the hose bib, you can smell the chlorine, the graphene, fluoride leaving leaving the water, and as it's off gassing, and then the water gets structured going into your plants or into your body. Soil Force is the one for growing which I'm so excited about. We have to get your growing friend into it, and your guru friend, and then the IGF. It's
calling Sadhguru my friend. I love this. He's calling Sadhguru my friend. We talked about putting Dr. Zach Bush and Sadhguru and a few other of my specialties in a room. He's like, okay, so he's calling Sadhguru my friend. I love this idea. Ryan really likes this idea.
There he will be once he meets you. I mean, Zach Bush is one of my good buds. So I mean, it's just these energies attract. So it's gonna happen. And so anyhow, molecular hydrogen's really great. It's the Aqua RX, probably one of the best molecular hydrogens out there on the market. That one's IGF. That's for growth factor. For any joint injuries, it's more of an accelerator. There's some great proteins and other cell salts and stuff that will start to roll out for testosterone and building those transitional elements to get you there. The IGF one will get you there a little quicker, but we still want to have those baselines there. But IGF one's great for any joint injury too. So those are some of the ones on that page. The lean oil will probably our biggest one. This MCT oil, medium chain triglyceride, and buffers insulin. It'll get you
fat to conduct electricity. Bottom line, you need water and fat.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. So in our bodies, mostly omega fat, and you get these good fats in our system. We learn to utilize them versus spiking and crashing of insulin and sugars. We start to burn fat as fuel, and this is plant fat. We call it lean oil. I don't know if you could see it on here, but teaspoon in the morning, teaspoon at night. So twice a day, you pull it in your mouth, your gums and teeth will feel amazing. And then it actually, you'll suppress your appetite. So you won't be hungry till about 4 in the afternoon. And then you can have an early big dinner, and then you go to sleep and you hydrate in between and have some good other protein powders at afternoon. Like around noon, I'll have a little, maybe a little something in protein in my system. It helps the ileocecal valve start to flush even more. So I don't do too much of that before noon. And then I'll have snacks and little just snack foods and such, healthy, whether it's nuts or stuff, throughout when I want that crunch for lunch as well. And then I'll have that big meal throughout the rest of the day. So that's kind of how you can intermittent fast without really intermittent fasting. It's just really, it's intake that your body really just wants. And it's not too much intake. And so that's where
fat, not breaking a fast with fat.
Right.
Just
so you're just, it's the optimal fuel for your body. So the MCT oil is probably one of the biggest things. You can find it under Athleticism products, I think.
Yeah.
Go to Athletic. Yeah, click. Oh, there it is, right there, top one on the left.
So I'm going to hear a lot of people say, so let's address it now. What do you mean it's palm oil? Why is it from palm kernel oil? I thought this guy knew what he was talking about. Can you address that?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's probably one of my favorite questions. And unfortunately, I have to break it down and say every single one of us and our parents are directly responsible for the devastation of rainforests throughout the past couple of decades, because that's how long it's been going on. It's normalized a lot right now. They're not doing as much. They've already created fields of growing where they can do it. So they're not wiping out orangutans and villages anymore. The food industry did that. That's what they really did. Unfortunately, the food industry, every major brand that we've all purchased or our parents purchased for us, are directly responsible for obesity and deforestation. And because they would harvest this stuff and really do palm oil.
Kellogg, Nabisco, Monsanto, Nestle. These are the companies that have done it.
Every single major one. The list is probably 50 strong of the biggest brand names that you've grown up with and known, that we still buy products. They still use palm oil as their main ingredients and they modify it. In a Mars bar, there's very little actual chocolate. It's really all palm oil. So you're eating a bar that's this much of saturated, fat palm oil. We're distilling only the MCT out of it sustainably with the most purest distillation from a really beautiful source. And that's ours has the high levels of C8 up to 65%, the rest is C10. We're getting all the nutrients that our bodies need to start to burn fat as fuel the right way. We're not eating copious amounts of saturated, that oil. So we're taking only the medium chain and we're doing it responsibly, and we're not doing it on a fragment of the level that all these industries have done it, and we're not deforesting to do it either, like they've done the last decade. So the palm isn't a bad nutrient for you. It's been used the wrong way and had a bad name to it, but I have a feeling it will be exponentially better than coconut MCT oil from all the other major brands out there in the market. This is the purest distilled that our manufacturer has ever seen, doing this for almost 30 years, the best oil he's ever seen. So we've sourced it in the most beautifully sustained way possible. And I've never seen a nutrient like this powerful for burning fat as fuel. And so when you start to combine the structured water with this moringa and get good protein in your system, and you have the proper fat in your system, these are what the best athletes and performers in the world are using to fuel their systems and to optimize their performance and help with their cognitive function to stay at that peak level. When they start spiking and crashing, okay, you drop a set if you're playing tennis or volleyball, whatever it is, that's when you go into that spike or that crash, and then you spike up, oh, let's reload and get more sugar. That's not what we're doing. The more optimal performers are learning not to spike and crash and how to burn the right fuel systems and optimize it. And lean oil is the best way to do that.
And from that perspective, if you're not a professional athlete or even a weekend warrior type of athlete, but you want to optimize and live a wonderfully healthy, beautiful life full of wellness, shouldn't we also treat our bodies the same way? Like I remember years ago, a friend of mine saying, if you put crap gasoline in your car, it's not going to run well. If you put high grade gasoline in your car, it's going to run better. And so how do you want your car to run? Do you want it to run at high performance, or do you just want to get by? I personally want to be at the most optimal level to be able to enjoy every morsel of every part of this life that I have been gifted with. And I want that all the same for you. I hope you want it. I hope you know you're worthy, because I certainly know I am. I know he is, and I know you are too, but it doesn't matter what I know. It matters what you know. So God, you are a wealth of inspiration and knowledge and love, and just love you so much. And I have to ask you one more question. I didn't get to ask you this the first time I interviewed you because it wasn't my podcast. When I interview somebody, is there anything else you want to add about your website before I get to this question about your website? I mean, I feel like we have started small and went large and came back. So yeah, I feel like we did the infinite loop, but if there's anything else you want to add, I want to give you stage to say that before I ask you this last question.
Thank you, Kelly. Yes, circling back, I think when you start to look at The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg, when you look at Electric Body, Electric Health by Aline McCusick, when you read Primal Resonance and the Living Collective Tissue Matrix by Dr. Stephen Schwartz, when you read Tom Cowan, former MD, he dropped his MD because he doesn't believe in that anymore. He's using his knowledge and growing food, regenerative farming, biodynamic regenerative farming. When you read his book, The Contagion Myth, you will understand that the bioresonance in our atmosphere, I felt we've done our best today to really sum it up. I sum a lot of it up in the first part of my book, Athleticism, Whole Body plus Whole Brain equals Performance. The first part is on awareness, which combines all these pillars for health and really brings a lot of what we spoke of together. Then the rest are whole brain and whole body exercises. But that first part of that book really resonates with it. So I'm so grateful to share this. The last thing, this one, I mean, I'm over 50. I think a lot of the viewers will probably be around that age demographic, you know, give or take a couple decades. Strophanthus. I will have it up on the website by the end of the day today. It's an herb I found from Tom Cowan. He's used it for years. Many top doctors, MDs that are more holistic have used it for years, and it is the best herb for your heart. Anyone wanting to keep a stronger heart, there's history of heart challenges in my dad's side of the family. Absolutely love this. 30-day supply in here, you guys. That will be your new go-to product is Strophanthus. I wanted to share all these different products. This is about 25 years of knowledge coming into this talk to get products into your hands that will feed your body and your longevity. So those are the huge parts that I'll love to wrap all this in a bow for you.
Well, and from my heart to yours, everybody's heart, whether you have familial history or not, has taken a beating in the last couple of years and is probably going to continue to take a beating, to be honest with you, because of what's happening in our world. And so keep your heart healthy, keep your frequency alignment, and get some Strophanthus. Did I say it right?
Strophanthus. Yeah, Strophanthus.
So my big question, although I cannot wait to hear how you answer this after all this. So one of the things that I ask, so my goal, we never talked about it, but my goal in life is to change medicine and turn it on its head. And when I started that journey, when I was 23 years old, I put out that I wanted to change 23 billion people's lives. Now, I know we only have about 7.6 billion on the planet right now. So I figure that's about right, because we need about 3 generations to change in the future to know that we've actually made this change, that this isn't going to change back, that this has made a change for 3 generations. If you had the opportunity today, Justin, and I was able to give you a microphone and let all 7.6 billion people on the planet listen to you, what is the secret, whether it has to do with health or not? What is the secret you would like them all to know so that they can live the full, happy, complete life that you get to engage in every day?
Well, in one sense, it is to get grounded and recharged by nature. It's really that simple, because of all that we've shared with the resonance of nature and the healing capacities and how we are one with her. And that's how God made us. That is how we are designed. When we introduce one directional stuff, we need to take those protocols and bring them back down to really regrounding us and reconnecting. And then that will in turn recharge us so that we can heal and live out our life's purpose.
Beautiful. Wow. And as we said before, it's this, all the medicine I've learned, all the invasive stuff I've learned. The bottom line is go outside, put your feet on the ground, look up at the sun, put your arms up and say, thank you so much. I love you. And thank you for healing me. Breathe in and have gratitude and infinite love, and much gratitude to you, Justin. And this is so incredible. And I'm really looking forward to hugging you. I sent Dr. Cohn an email last night and said, I'm so sorry we missed you in the Atlanta trip. It just did not work out for our schedule, but I know we'll all be together very shortly, and I look forward to that. So thank you for your time. Thank you all for listening. And, you know, if this resonated with you on every level, make sure to share this and notify us or comment rather, if you have anything you'd like to say. We love to read your comments. And go to athleticism.com, check out Justin, get some EMF rocks next to your bed, sleep well, And from our heart to yours, we'll see you next time on the Beats.
Thank you so much for listening today to this episode of The Beats. And as your host, Kelly Kennedy, truly from my heart to yours, thank you for your time and your attention today. And if this did resonate with you, please do leave some comments. We would love to hear from you. And if this further you think would resonate with somebody that you know, please do go ahead and share that and hit that notification button so you know when The Beats is available to you. We do some live things every once in a while. And as always, we pray that this information today was not only foundational, but raised some questions for you and helped you be empowered to take actionable, profound steps toward regeneration, because your body is the only thing that heals. And that is our message here on The Beats. Thanks again for listening and for sharing. Have a great day.